Hello, it's me, Annalisa, with my spiritual friend. I had this random thing and I wanted to film a video and then post it, but my battery is not charged for my DSLR camera and I haven't used it in forever and I was gonna kind of go about it. Um, but I didn't. So I'm here and I've been kind of noticing some things. I'm feeling better. Hi, Albert. I've been feeling a little bit better, although I have these crazy headaches. Like I still feel like they're called ice pick headaches. I get occasionally here and there, but it's like literally like someone sticking an ice pick and jabbing it in my head. It's the weirdest thing. And then random headaches, but they're getting better. So um, I am going to talk about 5D. I'm going to kind of talk about some things I've been noticing. Ouch. Sorry. I'm going to talk about some things I've been noticing and like false garbage that's going around about Ascension and the spiritual practice and what all this is that's going on. And, I've seen stuff about thank you, Rose. I hope you're doing well. I've seen stuff about one of my old clients and is now a friend, posted that she's been watching these videos. I don't know if you guys know who David Wilcock is or Wilcox or something like that. And QAnon and all of that. And how, so I wanted to address that because it's kind of like that idea that like the world is ending and this ascension thing is happening and the bad guys are going to go away. And sorry, I'm moving my phone off of there so it doesn't vibrate. So this guy, David Wilcock, has been peddling his crap since like the 80s, 90s. And the whole idea that we're going to get, like the government's going to give us all our money and the financial system's going to be reset and this whole ascension process is happening. So this kind of idea of apocalyptic mass changes and all of that has been going on like forever, right? So the Egyptians had a story of it, the Mayans, the whole story of Noah Ark and the flooding and God transforming everything. The Greeks had it. I mean, every part of history and mankind has had their own form of the QAnon stuff is totally nuts. I know some of y'all are into it, but it's just, to me, energetically, it does not resonate. And I'm always kind of like scratching my head at them. It doesn't mean I don't think bad people aren't out there. There are pedophiles out there, obviously. There are people who take advantage of things and who work the system, so to speak. And there are kind of like shady deals that happen, right? But also that's part of humanity and the experience of humanity. Thanks, Urban Lady. And incarnating here, right? So when I see these ideas of ascension and that we're all going to move to this next level and the whole earth is going to be this like sispumba, like everything is enlightened and I'm like, psychic, everybody is psychic, right? Or everybody is tuned in. This whole idea that that's going to happen is sort of funny to me. The one thing I resonate with, like on a lot of the new agey stuff, is that there's all these different planes of existence and there's all these ways of coming into the world. And in the world, by I mean any different thing, and you learn different things in different ways. And the earth is this like hardcore way to like learn. If you think of like each plane of existence like a university, well, like the earth is sort of this Ivy League. You're tough as nails if you decide to come here and incarnate here, because there is no other place that we learn the way we learn, that has the pain and the heartache and the loss and the love and the joy and all of that. It's like such a juxtaposition, one side and the other. And this is the experience that you have here. And so to me, to totally like go, we're going to just get rid of this and move into Ascension. Why the hell would you come here? Why would you come to this existence to learn if you didn't want the meatiness and the grittiness of it? Why would you say like, oh, we're all going to ascend him? No, that's a whole other plane of existence. That's not this one. But what is going to happen now? What is happening in this thing? I am feeling better, Regine. What is going to happen here is that we're shifting away from this dogma of religion and the sort of box that it puts us in, and we're moving into this idea that of spirituality and connection and oneness, and that there's like all of these, there's more balance to it, and like we're sort of honoring the dark and light, and that's where we're going to move to. It's not this idea that we're just everything's going to be happy go lucky and move to a different thing, because that's not this existence. That's not what this one is for. And I know that's like sort of maybe disappointing in a way. And maybe I'm strange to think that this place is really beautiful and amazing in all of its ooey gooey yuckiness. But like so much beauty comes out of struggle, and so much strength and healing comes out of struggle. And so this is really hard to live through. There's been pandemics before. There's been, wars and mass things where the world sort of has to come together. It is why you've been emotional, and it's okay. There's a lot of like, I said this on my friend Tony's show the other night. I said, more of us are empathic than we realize. And so when we sit in all of this, there is a lot to it. And it doesn't mean that it's not bad to feel the emotion of it. It's not bad to have empathy and compassion for others. It's not bad to cry and see the sadness and the enormity of it. It's hard. And a lot of people are struggling right now, but a lot of people are growing right now too. We grow through struggle. I can't look at one instance in my life where I've had a hard time and not learned or grown from it. And so I'm grateful for those experiences and those moments. And I have to tell you, I haven't bawled or gone, what the hell is going on? I don't understand. Because I sort of always sit in this space of wanting to know and understand. And so I'm sort of always in that moment, but not like bawling and crying, just wanting to understand and learn, instead of just moving in a robotic fashion. But I have gotten weepy-eyed and like a little, the tears, and because, people are going to pass, and people are losing their livelihoods, and they are going through this mass transition, and it's hard, and it's okay to say it's sad, and it's okay to understand the struggle of it. Um, but there's beauty in it too. And I mean, I have friends that, again, since I was a nurse, friends and mentors, and their children are nurses and respiratory therapists and things like that. And like, they're going to be affected in big ways, bigger ways than we can understand. And my breaks my heart for them. Um, but there's some real beauty coming from this. And I really do see people sort of taking stock and looking at themselves, from a bigger sense. I'm not answering any psychic questions, but I'll answer, if you have I'll look at it psychically if it's a general thing, but I'm not doing personal readings right now, if that's okay with you, Danielle. But it is why you're so emotional, because I think also a lot of my subscribers are empaths. I think a lot of people don't realize that's sort of where we get our sixth sense, our gut feelings from, is through being empathic. Um, It's not really so in my mind, Happy Tear says the world's ending to begin anew. I don't see it as an ending, as more of a transition or a shift. And it's not really anew, as more of like a shift into moving into a different process in the way of doing things. I look at us like, I sort of always compare things medically, because it's the best way for me to explain things in those sort of analogies. Um, if you think of the way a body is made up of tiny little cells, and there's cells that are specialized and cells that are more general, and there's a ton of skin cells, right? Because this is your largest organ. Um, and each of us as human beings are a part of this larger machine, and we're all important, and we all have our part and our place. And when there's a big shakeup, we all sort of like fall into line and know our place, sort of like our immune system falls in line, and there's this mass response of cells. Um, so there's this mass response happening right now, right? And To me, though, it's not it's like more people are gonna kinda become aware of how we are all interact and, affect others, and because it's such a large scale thing that's happening, it's going to last longer, have a longer impact rather than just one person having this event and realizing, like, in their personal life and realizing, like, I need to be kinder or whatever else, like, some people have NDEs, right? They pass and then come back, and realize that they had this, like, their life is more than just this in front of them. We're having that as a society and as a world, as a human race, that we affect others and what we do makes a bigger difference. Now, are there people who are not gonna become aware of this? Sure, that happens. But on a whole, we're gonna be shifting into an idea of how we affect others more. But it's not this idea that we're gonna be in this new agey, oh my god, blissful kind of world. It's just this natural process that occurs. Um, Absolutely, Rose, a renewed appreciation of certain things, but not sure. I think it will be, more permanent in a sense. I think that this will shift us into, my feeling is this is sort of the kick in the pants to shift us into this idea that everybody's life is important and and moving away from this idea of there's still going to be greedy people, but that people matter and that we need to help support each other. And it's not about, that there are inequalities and sort of moving us more towards an equal state and an equal understanding that um, everybody deserves healthcare, everybody deserves an equal opportunity for education and things like that. Because even though we think that we have that now, it's still really not that way. Um, So okay, so first of all, for the coronavirus, I just wanna say, I've said this on several videos, I do feel like, at least for the East Coast, because I understand it's gonna kinda trickle to other areas, but by May, like, my kids will be back in school in mid-May, and, by July, it'll sort of be calmed down. I sort of feel like by the end of July or so, it's gonna be that way for everyone, it's gonna be much more calm. I do feel like it's gonna stay around. This is not something that just goes away, right? So the sort of like the flu. I do feel like they're gonna push out a vaccine much sooner than they're predicting. Like they're saying like a year to 18 months. I don't feel it'll be that long at all. I actually feel like within the next several months, they're gonna have something that they're gonna be able to give to any of the frontline workers that haven't already been exposed, any of and it'll go to also to high risk people first to protect them first. Um, Again, I don't feel like this is a depression. I said this last June that there's a video of it's June 9th is one of my videos, something around there. I said that I thought that Trump would be out, and I heard my guide say, "But not how we want him to be." And to me, this is not how we want him to be, but I do feel like he's going to get voted out. I also feel like, um there is going to be a shift, a major shift from both parties to become more united on making sure that people have better healthcare, to make sure that we have better infrastructure, things like that. So it's going to be a little bit more coming together. I do believe that some of these outliers that are creating such um, adversity and like mine versus yours, blah, 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 that whole duality, those are sort of also going to shift away and it's going to become more towards the better of all, the better good of all, and that kind of stuff. Um, Lives are going to be lost. I don't think the numbers are going to be as high as they've predicted, but I also think that people are coming together and really understanding the gravity and the weight of this and sort of doing their part for the better of all mankind, not just poor me, woe is me. Um, I do feel like I said, financially, I feel like, and I said this last June, that starting in January, the markets would be kind of like, and I felt like in about 18 months is sort of when they settle out. I do not feel a depression. I want to say that very clearly. I do not feel a depression. I do feel like we're going to start getting people in the work sector back out. I feel like, and I said this a couple weeks ago, that they're going to start pushing out a test for antibodies very, very soon, and they're already starting to come out this week. So I said in like a week or two. I said that on Tony's show as well. So that's all kind of happening. And I said, and I was like, we were right on the precipice of this. So they're going to start testing for antibodies. They're called titers, ELISA tests. And this basically says, like, if you've been exposed, if you have um, immunity to it, and they'll start moving those people back out into the workforce and the work world, and sort of like creating a little bit of more herd immunity. But I still think they're going to have vaccines, and I still think they're going to encourage it. Now, if you're an anti-vaxxer, I'm very sorry. That's not news you want to hear. I'm sort of all about vaccines because I've had pertussis. I've seen kids sick with things that could have been prevented. And there you go. So Medicare for all accelerating. Yes, but I still said, and I felt this a while ago, that it would take a really long time to get something that's like meaty and good. But I do feel we'll be moving much more towards that. And this is like sort of the step towards it. I keep getting 2026 right now is sort of what I'm hearing. So it might take a while to really kind of get together on that and find something that is agreeable to the majority. There might be a second wave, though I don't feel like it's going to be as bad as this one, right? So it will come back in a little bit, but it doesn't. Again, this feels like the big, like if you want to think of it as the atom bomb dropping, right? So this is the big event. Was it like they're the big boy and little boy or something like that, were the two names of the things? This is the big event. This is the kick in the pants to get us to listen and to really kind of move forward for the best of everybody. I've heard some things about some people feeling like we'll move away from paper currency and things like that. I don't think that that's going to happen anytime soon. And my feeling for that is because there's still too much in circulation and still too many people that like to live off the grid. And I don't think they're ready to start exchanging turquoise and, gems and gold and things like that. So I don't think that that's going to happen just yet. I do eventually feel down the road that would be something that happens, but not just yet. Some people are saying there might be a second wave. Sorry. I'm just wondering what anti-vax supporters think right now. There's still some of them that are going to be reticent. And that's okay, right? Because I don't think that it serves anybody to start like pointing fingers and saying, you're bad, you're good. Like, we all come to an awareness or wherever we need to be at the right time. So, there's still going to be people out there that are, oh, you DM'd me? Okay. Am I supposed to read it? Wait, on YouTube? Can I get DMs on YouTube? Y'all see, I don't have enough followers, so that's why I don't know these things. Or did you you sent me an email, I'm guessing? I don't know. I'll have to look at it later. Another thing that's been interesting, and I don't know if you guys have felt this, on Instagram. Okay, cool. Another thing, so I actually turn off a lot of my notifications for things because I found that I was getting like all the groups that I'm on Facebook. This is very helpful and you should do this. Where I was getting annoyed by like all the people getting upset about, and I did this a long time ago, about stupid stuff. Things that, I don't want to say stupid, but just things that let me see. You can book a reading. Things that are just like, people are getting upset about, it's my husband said, because we joined this neighborhood thing and like getting upset about people using the leaf blowers. And I'm like, well, everybody has to work. And I'm like, what do they think my week is like all the time? Things that are useless and irrational. And I get that it's a place to use, like you put some control somewhere where you feel completely out of control. And that's what people do a lot here. But petty, that's a good word. So I turned off all of I like basically, unless I want to find something or a service that I need or a recommendation for a contractor or whatever, or a plumber, I don't get any notifications for that. I actually turned it off for Instagram too, because I don't want to be like, is someone seeing this? So I sort of like just the only one I actually have on most of the time is this one, because I have the most people here and it's more trolls, I guess. So 5D stuff. I know people think like, again, like they want to hear about like everybody's going to move into this thing. What I think this is sort of going to do is give everybody a time to sort of start focusing on the things that they don't take the time to do, looking at their inner knowledge, looking at their inner wisdom and their connection to something higher. And I think more people are going to start tuning into their own connection to how we're all interconnected, their own connection to a higher power or their intuition or their higher self or whatever you want to call it, the I am, the id versus the ego. That is what I think is going to happen now. It's sort of becoming more aware of our impact on the greater good and the greater beings versus, sorry, my nose is still a little runny, versus just being all about what can I do for me and their, I don't know, our natural human bend to being a bit narcissistic, kind of about ourselves, me, my, everything for me. But I'm not in on board about the 5D being this like whole earth moving to a different transition. I do think we time hop and things can happen that way, but I don't see it as being that because the human experience is sort of about this idea of the dark and the light. So I think it'll be finding more balance, but it won't be that one doesn't exist and only the other does. That's a whole other plane of existence that you can incarnate to. In fact, that's where we sort of go to when we move out of this existence. Energies and then male names, and I'm always like, well, that's sort of patriarchal, isn't it? And I think that we're sort of moving away from a patriarchal society and being more of a, again, finding more of a balance. I think also, yeah, you've got a point, Rose. So I do feel like she said with the less pollution, I do feel like we're going to, again, move towards more of a healing earth. I also have thought about the fact that, you know, there's a lot of people who are manifesting, right? A lot of us believe in manifesting that we can create a reality. And a lot of us have put in the intention for a healed earth and a healthier earth and a better, like healthier place to live. And this sure a pretty big shakeup to show us in a mass way how on a daily basis we affect the earth. And maybe this is like, as they call it, a bridge of incidents to having a healed earth and a healthier planet, kind of moving us out of this carbon-based, I mean, everything has carbon in it if you know about organic chemistry, but having such an excess of carbon. I do think people are aware of the pollution, James. I disagree. I think people are very well aware of the pollution. The other thing, a few people have mentioned to me in different platforms here, in private readings and also on Tony's radio show about, and I also noticed, I think James, you might have posted something, a comment on another video of mine. I'm not sure. It was sort of negative. I'm kind of seeing a pattern here. Maybe a little bit of a troll energy. So it's okay to have a differing point of view, but we don't need to attack. So some people posted about feeling energies. Several people have asked me about actually feeling somebody sitting next to them while they're in bed. First of all, we oftentimes open up energetically and feel things more energetically. Why don't I do Twitch streams? I don't know, because I'm here. Do you think that's a better platform? Thank you, Awaken Lightworker 78. Does that mean you're a 78? I'm a 78. You're welcome. If you so I'm gonna adjust that, Sandra, because that's a good point, about the earth cleaning up quickly. Um, but I wanted to talk about the veil being thinner. Um, KK, that's a download. Um, so, and I'll explain that in a minute too. So the veil is like a lot thinner, and people asked me at first. I was like, I don't know. I think it's a guide because I wasn't fully tuning into what people were getting. But then one of my friends asked me, who's also a psychic, and she was like, I don't know who this was. And I said, and it came to me like after I had answered her, it came to me, I can reach a lot more people through Twitch. Maybe I'll try that sometime. I don't, I thought it was a gaming thing. Um, you can reach a lot of people here. I also believe that if you share and like whoever needs to find me will find me, right? But that's a good idea. Maybe I'll look at that and see. Um, so it came to me that this was actually a boyfriend of hers who had passed maybe 10 or 12 years ago. It was a tragic and a sudden passing. And she said she was, that's interesting because he would be the only one that would be able to, like she said, it felt like somebody was snuggling her. And we're all going to be experiencing a little bit more connection with our loved ones and our guides right now because they realize the uncertainty we feel, the sadness, the lower energy, and they want us to know that it's all going to be okay. It's all going to find a way out. Now, it doesn't mean sad things aren't going to happen or tragedy isn't going to be there, but that overall it's going to be okay. And so they're sort of offering a comforting, lending energy to us. And the veil is extremely thin, and it's been extremely thin since like the beginning, first to second week of January. It's almost the way when people talk about the veil being thin around Halloween in the month of October. My oldest daughter always says she hates October because it's hard for her to sleep. My kids are all very sensitive. So it's sort of that, like I've seen so much energy moving around. I've talked about seeing orbs just in daylight, not even on cameras and pictures and things like that. The veil is definitely thinner. So if you're feeling someone next to you, don't panic, don't worry. It's probably just a loved one or your guide kind of offering you energetic support through this. You know when it's a negative energy. The other thing I want to talk about is people hallucinating. They're talking about people hallucinating with this illness. I don't believe in hallucinations in that sense, unless you're on drugs. But even then, there's like still some leeway to why that might not be a full hallucination. When you're sick enough, you sort of move out of your left brain into your right brain, into the idea of possibilities and creativity. And you sort of step out of impossibilities, right? And your ability to filter out and keep everything very much in the 3D, so to speak, is lost. And so you are going to have experiences where you're seeing loved ones that have already crossed over and thinking, oh, I must be going crazy or whatever. Even the most closed-minded people are having these experiences. It's sort of like the NDE thing. So know that part of that is happening as offering comfort and providing comfort. It doesn't mean you're dying. They do come through and they are around us a lot. I also said this on Tony's show that we as humans get a little nervous about thinking that someone's around us all the time and seeing everything we do. Going to the bathroom, being intimate with another person. I gotta tell you, I see people all the time in all experiences and energies and things like that. They kind of don't go away. So don't get nervous or whatever about that. It's sort of like they see us more as it's just an observation. It's not anything to be like, oh, that's really strange and weird, because let me tell you, they've seen everything. So it's really just like, that's a human thing. Like you watching somebody blow their nose. It's like, yep, people do that. Like that's what that is. They're just like pulling it away so that we can experience them more. Hang on, there was something. Oh, the ringing noise, KK. So that's sort of like downloads of energy and shifting. So we can get information about intuitively either, or about spiritual connections through reading, and that's our consciousness doing that. We get it in our sleep, And then you can get it through downloads, and it's like an energetic download, and it's just this ringing in your ear that happens. That also happens as your chakras around your ears or your clairaudience starts to open up. It's pretty normal as you're moving into a higher vibration. And again, I want to say, like, it's not bad to be in a lower vibration or to be around somebody who isn't necessarily as enlightened. It just is, right? Stuff just is. And you'll see people who are sort of more in the beginning of their ascension process, and they're still like, and they start to move into that, like, I'm ascended, I'm so great. Then look at those like poor piddly people who are all about the ego. It's like they forget and don't realize that they're actually in their ego when they're speaking that way. When you get to a certain area, you sort of start to go, okay, like you just see it as that's a part of the existence of being human. You don't have to worry about understanding the download. It just sort of happens. It's like this, I don't know, it's like you don't really think about what your cells are doing when they're, your immune system kicks in and has an immune response, right? It just happens. It's sort of that kind of thing. It's not anything you really need to think about or worry about. It just kind of happens. You don't have to do anything about it. So there are two separate things that are happening. So KK said, I'm feeling my grandmother around me right now, and I hear a high pitch, but I don't really know what to do with it. Nothing. Your great grandmother is around you to provide support and comfort right now. We're going to be feeling them around us more. And it's just, again, a support and comfort thing, because they recognize how stinking hard it is to be in this. It's hard. It's not easy. There is a difference between download rigging and a tinnitus. Tinnitus almost has like a lower pitch to it. I don't know any other way to explain it. And tinnitus is like constant, and the download it doesn't last forever. It's just a quick thing. And it's happening out of nowhere versus tinnitus sort of has a trigger or something to it. Or, from what I understand from people who have tinnitus, it's like a long thing, and a download is not. It's quick. And also the thing about the download is it's not necessarily for you to understand. It's something that you'll sort of process and absorb, and it'll kind of come to fruition on its own. Hi, spiritual warrior. No, I don't think it's wrong to use divination tools to strengthen your spiritual gifts. When I first started doing readings, someone suggested using tarot because it's a tool, right? And I was like, no, I'm going to go into this, like, I'm sort of a deep end of the ocean person. Like, I'm going to just jump in head first and like see how to do this. So I just started doing readings, and kind of like, it was like literally like just going by the seat of my pants. But no, it's not. Some people need that. Like my friend Tony is an astrologer, and he's a Capricorn too. He's very Capricorn. And I was on his show. Same guy. And he's really psychic, and he can't get out of his left brain, because Capricorns tend to be very grounded, if you know any. No problem. I am doing well. Thanks, music. So he says, and he needs the chart to look at, and he sort of goes off of that and like goes into this other place, but he needs that to sort of get to that other place. So you need to use tarot. You need to use, what's it called again? Where you take the, you have a string and you go like this and you do yes or no, that kind of stuff. If you need to do that, that's fine. Astro charts, whatever it is that you use, there's nothing wrong with it. It's not bad. It's just a way to you move out of your left brain and get into the place that you're comfortable with. Pendulum, God bless you. So it's whatever you need to do to get there. I sort of was always like, there's too much to chance when you're flipping cards. So I use tarot now because I sort of understand it more. I use tarot more for myself, and I don't do a traditional reading. I like look at the cards and intuitively look at how they would fit. I'm getting better at listening to my guides for myself, but Yeah, I sort of I don't know. I'm not one to poo-poo anything. I think you do what you gotta do to get yourself there. Like, I also don't poo-poo religion in the sense that, like, if that's where you find your connection and your faith sits there, go for it. If you find a way to be a better person and be a bigger, brighter being, and that's your route, super. That's what your role is. Maybe that's your journey in this life. And that's okay. I also try to suggest balance. Whatever you're doing, find balance in it. So if you're moving into your spirituality, make sure you're doing it in a balanced manner. Don't move so head on to into it that you're like, I'm ascended and this great being. And like you forget that you're really supposed to be here in this human experience and all of the messiness that goes with it. Because that's why we're here, right? So I took a few classes that weren't at HSI that were out of Montclair. And I just remember specifically this one little boy who was very, very open and very, very connected, but I was like literally bouncing in his chair, which I get might be a 10-year-old thing. I understand children. I worked in pediatrics. I was a pediatric nurse. But vibrationally, he was like all over the place. It was like he couldn't sit down and be a part of this. And I kind of talked to him about like, it's super cool to do this stuff, but you also have to kind of find that balance where you also enjoy the experience of being human in this earthly existence. That's why we're here. I mean, it's not just about like learning to love and unconditional love and kindness and sort of like healing. It's also really just fully embracing the journey and enjoying it, finding joy in it, and finding growth in it. And yeah, I'm one of those weirdos that's like totally okay with reincarnating again. And I've had a pretty, listen, if you knew my story, you'd be like, how the hell are you happy? Because I can use all of my experiences to help others. What else did I want to talk about? 5D Ascension. I kind of covered some of the things that were kind of itching at me. You're very welcome. I really enjoy sharing my spiritual experiences. I'm super practical in my approach towards it, but I'm sort of practical in real life anyway, not in just spiritual life. Like, I asked for a drill one time in college from my dad. He never got it for me. It was for Christmas. And I was really disappointed. And he's like, I thought you were joking. I was like, no, man, everybody can use a drill. It's a good thing to have, right? So any tools you need in life, like if you want tarot or whatever, these are great approaches towards them. Sometimes it's just a way to get beyond your fear, right? So I had to get beyond my fear of being wrong because I realized the gravity of what it is that I do when I do a reading, and the gravity of when somebody comes to me seeking spiritual guidance, because it means so much to me and is so important to me. I recognize the impact that it can have on others. And so I had to get past that what if I'm out wrong? So I started putting it on my guides and saying, okay, I trust them. I know they're right. I may interpret it wrong, but I know they're not wrong. So I had to kind of move out of, so it's like whatever you have to do to get out of that lower part of you and get beyond the fear of it. Because, they say fear is an illusion. So I don't know if anybody has any comments or questions. Oh, I love doing these. I like really love talking about spiritual stuff. I love talking about bigger things but it's also probably why I like dive bars. I don't drink really anymore, but why I always like dive bars and like, I hate small talk. Sock monkey, good point. Religion is a human cultural universal. All religions serve humans in the same ways. One important function is to address the fear of the unknown. Absolutely. I don't necessarily think they all serve in the same way, but the major underlying component. And also the major underlying component, that's okay if you're late, Danny. Never late, always perfectly on time. You can always rewatch it. The underlying of the majority of religions, the big get is, even in spiritualism, is do unto others, right? The golden rule. So there's something to that, and that how we treat others affects us. How we treat ourselves affects others. So it's that, that give and take. There's something to that if it's in every single religion. I see a less partisan future in politics. I see a more of a movement towards, I mean, I know people don't like moderation, but, you know, even Jesus said everything in moderation, right? I'm kidding. Um, I want to do, I have like this workshop that I did a couple years, oh my God, it's like 5 years ago now. I don't know. Um, this workshop I did, no, maybe, I don't know, 4 years ago. I'm trying to figure out a way to do it because what I like to do is with my workshop, I like to teach people about psychometrizing. But what I do is I take a picture and I put it in an envelope and I seal it and I have them hold it and start to visualize what they're getting and show what they're doing. So they're opening up their clairvoyance, but they can sometimes hear whatever. Most of it's a clairvoyance thing or clairsentience. So I have them and then open it up. So I'm trying to figure out how I could put a packet together. I might have to put something together and mail it out in order for them to do that. But then it's like, part of me is like, but you have to not open it because this is really important to the exercise and part of the experience of it. So I have something put together. I just want to figure out how to do it. And I love teaching people. I love teaching people how to open up their abilities because it's not always about becoming a reader, right? Or a healer or whatever. Sometimes it's just like refining your own inner GPS so you can do your journey just a bit easier, right? With a little bit more comfort. And I love talking to people about faith and like understanding faith and where it comes from and how to like grow their own faith. You know, the thing about the golden rule that people forget though, is that it's really truly also about, you know, kindness to others, right? Putting kindness out because it really does kind of come back to you. We kind of pull that energy back into ourselves, but also being kind to ourselves is really important because we put that energy out as well, right? Okay. So if I give courses, I want to try and figure out how to do that. I think honestly, what's going to happen is, I do feel like there's going to be a growth in my own career, and I've gotten the validation on that starting around in August, September. So I think what might happen is that'll be the time frame where I start to kind of put stuff out in a different platform. I need the time to sit down without a child at home, and right now I've got 3 of them home all the time. So I really do want to put something out because again, I see the way people teach and I think it's great, but I also think that stuff is like so restricted and this idea that everything has to be this way or that way. And I sort of don't always buy into all the ideas that other people sell, like twin flames. I don't buy into twin flames and there being only one person for you. And because it's like sort of an excuse to not really like deal with your own belief systems that need to be healed. What else I want to say? I don't know. Any questions, comments, concerns? Nope. Oh, hi, Albert. Oh, yeah. So if you move to NYC, I do so once everybody's kind of like back in the stream of things, I'm going to be teaching, but it's through holistic studies, an energy healing class. And I will I'll do workshops and stuff. Like I said, I sort of like my youngest is going to be going to preschool. So that'll sort of offer me a little bit starting preschool in the fall. So that'll sort of offer me a little bit more time to do those things. I'll do some online ones too. That is my goal. Like I'd like to do online. I would love to figure out how to do an in-person and online one. So maybe do it through like Zoom where I have some people in person and some people online. The other thing I have to figure out with online is because when I do my in-person ones, I also have you actually read for another person. So I need to figure out how to like hook you up with another person to read. And sometimes reading in this platform is not like a great way. You can do it. So if it's possible, I really believe anything's possible. You can do it, but I need to figure out how to match you up with another person. Because the other thing is I have you psychometrize one of their things as a way to practice and do their reading instead of just their energy. But I will try and figure out how to do online and maybe transfer some of the way I like the styles of teaching that I have in order to do it in an online forum. I do think schools will be open in the fall. Absolutely. Um, they might shift some breaks around a little bit, but I do think that they'll be open in the fall. I also think, they're talking about people getting, like, I think that more people will I think there'll be a second wave, but it just feels like it's going to be smaller. And also, again, I feel like they're pushing out the vaccines quicker, and I feel like they're pushing out the testing for antibiotics quicker. I'm telling you, more people have had this than they realize. It has been in the communities much, much longer than they have realized. So I really feel like this is the big wave, right? And then in the fall, I do feel the schools will be in. Again, I feel like they're going to maybe have like a certification where you get tested to see if you're immune, and also a certification, or vaccinated. I really do feel like they're going to push out the vaccines much sooner than they're saying. And what's weird is I feel like it's also sort of they're pushing it more because they want to get people out to vote. So I know they're talking about mail-in votes, but I don't. There's too many systems that are in collapse. Oh, another garbage idea I heard was like the internet's going to go up. Listen, it's slower. It's overwhelmed, but it's not going to go out. There are too many people working on it to keep it moving and keep it flowing, like that are like solely just moved towards that. It feels like so many people, because this is our way for commerce right now. This is our way to sort of keep whatever hasn't shut down afloat. So they're not trying to make everything terrible. What's no? What did they no to? Oh, was that the garbage, what did I say? Garbage idea of internet going down? Yeah, it's not. It won't be. It won't be without the internet. I'm telling you, it's not going down. Do I think America will put an end to foreign influence? I want to say yes, but I don't. Not yet. Listen, as much as people are going to get enlightened and everything else, there's always going to be those underlings who are trying to game the system and figure out a glitch to, like, greed and power, right? What are the 7 deadly sins? Gluttony, I don't know, whatever. But there's always like this idea of power and being power hungry. So I do think a lot of people are sort of understanding that they can't keep their companies afloat if they shit all over their workers, so to speak. But there's still those people that are, well, look at our White House right now. And I'm not trying to like slam anybody, but it's still a very much ego oriented. Like, I didn't do that. I didn't say that. And there's like all these records of being able to say it. So still very much working in our ego. And there's still a lot of people in power that are like that. So that's not going away anytime soon. That's also part of the human experience, unfortunately. There's some reason that some individual can see with their third eye having their physical eyes open, but others can see with their third eye having their physical eyes closed. It's a comfort level. That's what I really believe. I used to not, like, the longer I've done this and the more comfort I've gotten with it, the more I see physically in front of my eyes. I saw Ben Franklin once. In my basement. Don't know why. I was like, I mean, I kind of have an idea why now, but like at the time I was like, okay, that's weird. I've also seen in front of my eyes Thomas Edison, but he's like from this area. So, and it was like actually the day before his birthday. So that's sort of like fell into place for why I saw that. I'm still doing readings tomorrow. I'm feeling a little bit better. Yesterday it was really weird in the afternoon. I worked out Thursday and Friday. I was super excited to exercise again. I'm sore as all get out and have zero. I like my endurance is terrible right now, but then I was like laid out in the afternoon. It would just hit me like a brick wall where I was just exhausted again. But I am going to do my readings tomorrow. I really believe in consistency. I really believe in being dependable. And that's probably part of my work ethic in all the areas that I've worked in, that you show up and you're there. So I'll totally be here tomorrow. Why did I see Ben Franklin? Okay. So, one of the reasons is as I was told, because I was like, one of it was a sort of like there's a connection to him somehow, as like not a guide, but I don't know. It's also the area that I live in. But the other reason was about financial. I'm coming into my Benjamins, so to speak. I'm going to be doing well financially. I'm still waiting on it, but I do see myself moving in the direction of being much more successful, much more out there and known. I'm really trusting the process of the universe. And so when I say, like, people are like, oh, you should do this or that, I'm sort of like, I'm just trusting what I get intuition wise, what I need to do. And then I trust that everybody's going to come and find me when they're supposed to. That's why I'm not doing the get of always doing the political readings and reading on everything everybody wants me to read on, to feed the anxiety. Because again, I want to have a space of being comforting, being a space of a source of positive energy and wisdom and understanding, right? And an appreciation for our spiritual connection, and not just look at this cool gift and what I can do with it. Although it is a pretty cool superpower, right? And you can all do it. I really do believe it. And we do block ourselves sometimes, and you'll get to a different place. Thank you, Julie. So I don't know. I've been hearing a lot more interesting experiences people have been having. So are you guys having anything? Are you overwhelmed? Is there any guidance or wisdom or insight I can give you? I'm going to also link, one of my friends is from college, a good friend from college is a psychotherapist. I always joke with her that she's psycho the rapist, but she did a little short video on some ways to help when you're relieve yourself when you're anxiety ridden. And while I think meditations are great, sometimes just in the moment we need something quick. And she had some really nice tips. Your employees, what do you? Oh, first of all, KK, man, people are projecting like crazy. So, it's a coping mechanism, right? So it's you get the people that tell everybody how else they're supposed to do everything, right? The people that just start lashing out, like I don't know if y'all saw that news clip. It was some grocery store in Houston. It's called HEB. There was like a guy, there was a film crew filming. It was like 6:30 in the morning. And he was like, I'm here because of you people making everything scary. And I wouldn't be reacting if you weren't reacting, like totally not taking responsibility. Like they do. It's a lower level emotional way of coping. And it's unfortunate if you can just approach it with love and empathy. And when they're acting that way, say, just kind of squash the emotion rather than feeding into it. Yeah, they do. I mean, listen, they're scared too. And it's hard when people are scared to function from a place of like calm and movement, and not everybody does it well. I sort of go into robot mode when we would have codes when I was a nurse. I literally went into this mode of like, okay, we do X, Y, and Z. And then when it was done, I sort of had this, I could feel the adrenaline just flush my body. But I sort of move into this moment, and maybe it's because of all the trauma that I went through as a kid, and sort of like grew up in this chaotic, traumatic, super highly dysfunctional existence, that I sort of, when stuff gets really like crazy and chaotic, I get really calm and like, okay, it's like the world moves in slow motion. I do, Albert, I do think they're gonna become more mainstream. Um, there will be some glitches along the way, but I do think they'll become more mainstream, but I don't think they're gonna overtake like the way all grocery stores are run. It's just like now there's a lot of like now when you go to the grocery stores, there's a lot of like self-checkout and then regular checkout. People still like human interaction. People still like to be able to get help and things when they need it. So I do think it will, because especially places like New York, where people just want to get in and out, and but there's still going to be a lot of places that have the human interaction. Um, I also think it's interesting, like people like Jeff Bezos, because it's like they have all this money. I mean, so much money, right? So crazy much money. And they talk about doing philanthropic stuff, but it's almost like they're so detached because they're so out there. They sort of like miss where they can really be helpful. That's interesting to me. Um, it is. I saw something and I thought it was funny. I'm trying to think of what it was. Oh, Madonna's live stream stuff, like she's got on Twitter. I saw like a bit of it, and my husband and I were talking. I was like laughing because she's so completely detached. She's talking about like, oh, it affects us all the same, and we're all like, it's an equalizer. And she's in a bath of like a milk bath with rose petals. And then there's another video of her getting like some kind of skin treatment, but they're coming in with like lasers and doing it. And I'm like dying because I'm thinking, no, honey, it's not a great, no, you're not. I don't care. Like, yes, you can get sick too, but regardless, this is like so unequal and bizarre. Um, it was the weirdest thing. I just thought like she's so completely removed from it being reality. Some people miss it and they don't get it. And I also have seen people like, oh, this is funny. I thought this was funny. My mom was watching Colbert and Ryan Reynolds was on it. And she was like, some Canadian guy was on Colbert. I don't know. He must be famous or something. Some Canadian guy. I'm doing her as if she has a Midwestern accent. She doesn't have a Midwestern accent. She's from Texas. And I was like, yeah, that was Ryan Reynolds' mom. And he's pretty famous. But I thought this was funny. But so like he's doing things with his companies, like giving back and whatever. And a lot of other celebrities are doing that, where they're giving back and doing all of these things. And they're sort of like hitting like really logical places where, so you can see who grew up or who's not so far removed from their growing up and not having a lot of money. Cause I know Madonna grew up in a blue collar family, whatever, but like she's so far removed from reality. It's incredible. But I've seen people attacking celebrities, and I see people say things like celebrities shouldn't talk politics. They should just do their job. Well, they're taxpayers and they have a right, just like you or I. Yes, their job may be out there in the public a little bit more, but I think everybody has a right to their own opinion, and you don't have to agree with it. But that's really sort of the beauty of democracy, is that we get to share our opinions. And I always believe, I have friends that are more conservative, and we've had conversations, and we can have really lovely conversations where we totally don't agree, but we are completely respectful. I think where the problem underlies, and this comes in spiritual stuff too, where we start name calling and pointing fingers like, I'm better than you. And it's like, no, we're all entitled to have an opinion. Your mom will get really cold sitting in the living room, but I don't feel anything. If someone is visiting her. Yeah. And so here's the other thing is, you may pick up on something and another person may not. My children might have guides visit and they'll talk about them, and I can be in the same room with them when it's happening, and I won't necessarily feel them. Spirit will make itself aware to certain people and not others. And that's sort of like a personalization thing. And she may just get cold easily too. That is another thing. But it can also be that they're feeling it and you're not. They can make themselves aware to just one person in the room and not others. And it's not because one person is closed down or another. It's just their choice and their way of communicating. I told you guys I love talking about spiritual stuff. I've been in here for an hour. I love teaching. I love sharing my experiences. I like hearing about others. That's what I found with my kids. So, and I also think it's about, like, especially in my case where I'm kind of helping, it's about their growth. And like, instead of me going, "Oh, it's this." It's like it allows them room to sort of express in the way they are, and me sort of like give them the tools to explore it and to grow. Thanks, KK. You're welcome. So, I really think it's important, when you're especially right now and the energy is like really chaotic and lots of anxiety, it's really easy to feel that energy. It's super, super easy to just like tap into it because it's closer to like the human ego experience. So, I'm not saying like don't read the news so much, but also take it with a grain of salt in the sense that, um, it is bad what's going on. It's, the hospitals are inundated and overrun, and when you hear a doctor say, and I'm saying this because I worked in an ER for 9 months. Yes, I worked in several different places and hospitals. I did not like the ER because I was empathic and didn't know it, and I was picking up a lot of garbage energy, and I was becoming a total cynical bitch, but that's another story. Um, if an ER doc or nurse says, "I'm scared," believe it's bad because they've seen a lot of really rough stuff, and a lot of ways that you deal with it is through humor, and there's a lot of joking around in an ER. If they're telling you it's bad and they're scared, it's bad. It's real bad. So, and they feel very helpless because they don't have what they need to be able to do the job that they know how to do. And it is a virus that they're still like, I follow a lot of doctors on Twitter, and it's interesting to read their comments and their insight into how they're treating things. Um, they aren't really sure. It really is like they don't have a precedent for how to treat this. So be smart, stay inside. I have not driven my car in 2 full weeks, and before that, it was a week before that, but I actually got a notification on my phone 'cause, I have an Explorer, and they has like a where you can like go on your phone, and you can start your car from your phone, or you can, like it's an app, you can look at the health of your phone, so of your car, so and it, like, actually sent me a message and said, "We're shutting off, like, the remote operations. You have to go back and start your car with your remote in order to get this to shut back on as a way to conserve battery." So I was like, "Oh, it's been a long time since I've driven my car." Um, is it true that when developing mediumship, you need to decide what you want to do with it? No. I sort of and that's like another thing I don't really agree with a lot of people on, like, I don't have one Clara that I use, and I never have had one Clara or 2 main things that I use. I've really always been open to, however you need to use me, whatever is the best way for you to communicate and get this message across, do it. I don't care, except for moving stuff around. I've had instances where stuff moves around, like, in the spiritualist church, when we're taught how to be, seance conductors, because seances are the same thing as message circles. They use, it's like this big cone thing, and they put it in the center of the table, which is in the center of the circle, so that if spirit wants to do physical manifestations and move things, it can. And I think only one seance I've ever done has it moved. Um, oh, you're calling it some Arumbalaki? Is that the name of it? Um, we were just okay. Um, so I sort of am like, it doesn't have to be this way or that. And mediumship, I didn't know what I wanted to do with it. I didn't even know that I was a medium until like it started happening. I don't know what I want to do with it. I can use it for anything. Um, Cabine, what's the point? I don't- You're going through that phase now, meaning personal needs are helping. So, oh, yeah, you don't have to decide. You can also just, the universe will sort of guide you to what you're most comfortable with. Um, you're from France, welcome. Um, but most people speak English on here, so I don't know how to. I don't. All I know how to say is "Je t'aime" and "Je m'appelle Anna." And am I on heroin? I might be blocking you. Um, you're a French minister? Oh, like a spiritualist. Welcome. I look like a hobo. Oh, you're so nice. Okay, I'm gonna leave you because you're just obviously either bored and or miserable. So it's so nice. Bye. Um, you're proud? I don't know what that is. Um, so yeah, you don't have to really decide how you want to use your mediumship or really any of your abilities. It just you can sort of like get comfortable and grow into it. I think that's also very human to like think that we have to decide what we want to be and how we want to do it and like move towards a goal instead of like sort of just like marinating it and enjoying the process and the experience of it. Oh, you're French too, and you don't understand the I don't. I know glass because I used to babysit for Proutatine, Proutatin. Um, and they would always ask for ice cream. They'd say glass. And I know how to say, I don't understand. Je ne comprends pas. I took French for 2 years and I was terrible at it. And then I moved to Spanish because it made more sense to speak Spanish when I lived kind of, doing nursing in the United States. So I do feel like they're going to suspend more mortgages and rent. A lot of places are suspending mortgages and rent payment for a while. I think they're going to move more towards that. The banks do not want to go through another bubble, and they don't want to have a whole bunch of properties on their hand. They don't want to go through another 2008. So they are working. Okay, Cobain, come on. You can stay. Just don't be like that because I don't know what you're saying, and it's pointless. So I do think that that's what's going to happen. I've seen a lot of posts about landlords and stuff suspending rent and to kind of help people move people through. All right. Okay, sorry. I just end up hiding people when they annoy me because I don't want to waste my time looking at it. Sorry, that's the truth. I block people and hide them. Thank you, Regine. I don't really think I'm that good. I know very few things, and that's it. I know very few things. Oh, I can count. I can count well in French, right? What is that going to get me? Counting pennies. So they're not going to want like this is my sense. They don't want mortgages to all fall out and be stuck like they were in 2008. They don't want to be stuck with a whole bunch of properties. So I do feel like they'll be suspending mortgages. They've already done that with student loan payments. It feels like maybe through September, like but it feels like it's not across the board, right? Because there are people who will still be able to afford their rent and their mortgages and things like that. It feels like it'll be like an assistance, things like you have to go to them and sort of like work it out with them. It's not just across the board. So, Marfal, I don't know. The whole 5D thing sort of like, I don't know if I really buy into all of that, right? So, do I think that as a society and as a being, we're going to become more enlightened and more connected to our own intuition and to the idea of interconnection? Yes. But this idea that we're all of a sudden going to be this whole new society that existence that's like more light and friendly and like, Aquarian, blah, blah, blah. No, because we come here to experience the human juxtaposition and the fighting and the back and forth. And, like, yes, we'll be more enlightened. And yes, on a whole, people will be better. but we still want the highs and lows and all of that because we learned through the struggle. That's what this existence is about. And sort of the 5D to me is a whole other plane of existence. And if we're moving into that, then why come to this place? The idea of that has been around, of being in this higher, more enlightened place, has been around since the dawn of age, right? So, no, I don't. I used to sort of think like, yeah, but no. Maybe I'm going against the grain of all of the new agey people, but I sort of am against the grain kind of person anyway, right? Um, what was I going to say? I get on tangents. That's my problem. Um, uh, what else about that? I don't know. Any other questions? What do I think about aliens? I totally believe in them. I totally do. I think it's so silly that we are like this tiny little planet and galaxies upon galaxies upon galaxies. And like to think that it's like so egocentric to think that we would be the only ones out there, or like, oh my God, someone goes, wait, so you think something else has figured out how to like move past the speed of light or move through wormholes and things like that? I'm like, yeah, totally. Like, of course there's something smarter out there than us. Have you seen our president? Just kidding. But have you like really like we use what 3% of our brain? Total whistleblowers, lots of them. Um, I do think that we'll move into a shift in our democracy, and that we're going to change. There's going to be definitely changes in rules. We're going to move towards a different way of voting, or a more standardized way of voting that's sort of free of tampering. You felt a huge wave. They do. They do. And listen to me, I really believe that our government knows about them and works with them. And it's just a feeling I've gotten, and maybe it sounds totally crazy, but it's just this like strong feeling I can't explain. Like, of I feel like they sort of monitor things, and I do feel like they watch certain people to learn and to understand the humanness and like our own development and our intuition. I don't know, maybe that's a crazy way to think, but whatever. You can't prove me wrong, can't prove me right. So what is it doesn't matter to talk about the ideas of it. I always love to hearing when y'all have like the feedback, like I see this or I see that, like while stuff is going on, because I don't necessarily like, or Danny mentioned that when we did the energy healing, she really felt it. I'm probably going to bounce out of here soon because I feel like I'm really taking up a lot of time. But oh my God, I haven't had a lot of human interaction. All right. So if there's not anything else, I haven't really. Listen, I'm a stay-at-home mom. So I really adjusted well to being at home. Like, this is not a huge change from my routine. I still get woken up at night. I still have to do laundry. I still have to do cleaning and cooking and all of that stuff, and schoolwork and all of that. But and I don't talk to a lot of people during the day because like nobody wants to hear my kids in the background. Or me just all of a sudden go, gotta go mid-sentence. But what do I think of deja vu? So I think that there's a difference between deja vu and precognitive. And a lot of people are having precognitive dreams or precognitive experiences and calling it deja vu. Oh, good. I'm glad. One of my friends tells me she listens to me fall asleep or while she falls asleep. And I'm like, oh, because I'm like so boring. She's like, no, it's just really relaxing. So deja vu, right? You're welcome, Danny. I also love how supportive some of you guys are. Like, you show up, you're here. It's always nice. And you check out my other stuff. I said this thread on Twitter, and I'm gonna share it with y'all. But or I wrote this thread, and literally I think 3 people look at my Twitter. It's like nothing. But deja vu is that feeling I've been here before, right? So you might get that if you had a lifetime, say you live in the United States now, you had a lifetime in London, say you go there on a trip and you go into a building, you're like, this just feels really familiar and I can't put my finger on it. That's deja vu. Um, Precognitive, which a lot of people mistake for deja vu, is I had a dream about something. I like say I dreamt about a conversation we had, or watching this video, or doing this event. And then it happens, as it happens, you're like, I already had this before. That's a precognitive experience coming into fruition. So totally different than deja vu. All right, I'm gonna find this thing and tell you about it. And like literally, it's my spiritual friend, but it's FRND if you do want to follow me and interact on there. I'm actually pretty active on there because I don't know, again. So here's what I said, because I said this in response to someone attacking some celebrities, and I just thought it was really crappy. But it speaks to things. So it said, when I see people attacking others, celebrities, if you will, for helping, I see trolls who are miserable in their own lives. My favorite was the guy who claimed to be enlightened in an ever expanding universe. Tip: when you are enlightened, you understand that we are all on a journey and not one of us is better than another. This is part 3. When you take the stance of being enlightened, yet sit in judgment of others, you are not as enlightened as you think. You are smack dab in the middle of your ego. The idea that you are attacking others for being helpful is strange at best. Have you asked yourself, how are you being helpful? And last but certainly not least, we all have a part in this world. If someone else doing good makes you uncomfortable, perhaps take a moment to ask yourself why that makes you so uncomfortable. Sending out love. Love heals. So I don't know. It's just interesting when I watch people. So when you look at people who are being that way, they're sort of dealing with some of their own stuff and not getting, the mirror image isn't working for them and they don't like it. I do believe deja vu can signify that you are on the right path. I sort of think precognitive does that more. So I do, but it's also, again, just a connection to a past life. Sometimes we put little Easter eggs in because we like those experiences. We enjoyed those lifetimes. So that's sometimes why we put connections in there. And it's also you connecting to your higher self and your soul, because all of that is still in existence just because you don't experience or know about it all right now. I don't know if you guys can hear any background noise. I see people in videos, they'll say, I was just waiting for a question or a comment or whatever. People always say like, they can hear it, like, oh, can you hear the leaf blowers? There's leaf blowers. And then my kids, I think it's my 3-year-old is being loud. She's being 3, right? Oh my God, she's so cute this morning. So she woke up early for her. My kids usually don't wake up before 7. And she woke up at like 6:40 and I was like, no, too early, go back to bed. And she's like, no, I want to watch the Kindle. She likes to watch like Disney Plus on the Kindle. And so I was like, okay, you can watch the Kindle. You can sit in bed with mommy while you watch the Kindle. Super parenting proud moment. But I don't like waking up super early because she wakes me up a lot at night. And so she's like, no, couch. I was like, listen, lady, I'm gonna be in bed. And it's not, my house is not huge. It's a raised ranch, right? So it's like not a big place. We have a large basement, but whatever. But it's like all one floor. It's not like she just walks down the hall quickly to me. And so I was like, okay, and it's like an open, right? So like it's the living room, dining room, kitchen are all kind of open. And so she said, I was like, you either sit out on the couch by yourself or you come in bed with me. And she's a pretty independent kid. She's really funny. And she's like very precocious. So she's sitting there and she came in and I was like really sleepy. And I thought it was my middle daughter telling me she was awake and asking me for breakfast. And I was like, and I said, my middle daughter's 7, so she can do this. And I said, go get some yogurt out of the fridge. You can get yourself some yogurt. My 3-year-old came back in and she hands me the yogurt cup. And I was like, oh my God, no, I don't want you eating by yourself. I felt so terrible. So I like went out and sat with her and had coffee and stuff. But she's like super independent and the cutest. She's cute as a button. I just adore her. Your clairs take turns. They're taking turns while you're growing them, but they'll all kind of work together in unison. She's like, my kids are super funny. My 7-year-old eats constantly. She's so tiny. She takes after my husband's side of the family. She's like a hobbit. My husband's side of the family is really tiny. My side of the family is like both of my grandfathers were 6'4". I have female cousins that are like 6 feet tall. Like my family, both sides are really tall. And his family is, and I'm 5'6.5". Like I'm not really, I'm a little more than average. But my husband's family are like hobbits. Like his grandmother, she's definitely not even 5 feet tall. And his grandfather, and his grandfather, one of his grandfathers was like 5'6", and the grandmother was like not even 5 feet tall. And they said they were the tallest people at their wedding. So can you imagine how tiny their friends are? So, all right. I'm just rambling. I hope y'all are well. I'm going to head out. I will see you tomorrow night for our regular chat. I put in contacts. This is only the second time in 3 weeks that I've worn contacts. I actually put on a little mascara. All right, y'all. Be good. It was really nice talking to you. Thanks for showing up and hanging out. And as always, I do private readings. If you're interested, you can contact me at annalisa@myspiritualfriend.com. My website is myspiritualfriend.com. My Instagram is @myspiritualfriend. My Twitter is @myspiritualfriend, but FRND, because Twitter didn't let me put the whole thing. Y'all have a wonderful night. Thanks for joining, and I'll see you tomorrow, okay? Oh, it's okay if you're late. Just watch. It's rambling fun. And subscribe and like and share and all of that stuff, right? All right, be good.